Welcome to London. I'm going to tell you about the biggest mistakes I always see tourists make when they come to the city so that you know about them and you don't make them yourself. By the way, I'm Jess. I run Love in London and we help tourists who visit London like they live here. Welcome.
Okay, this is a reaction video. This is 15 mistakes London tourists always make. Now, I've never been to London. My brother and his wife have been there several times. I'd like to go. I will go. You will see my beloved Arsenal. See, North London, Tottenham. Get the hell out. I don't care if you were there first. We are Arsenal. Anyway, 15 mistakes London tourists always make. And now I would imagine if I wore this shirt into a Tottenham bar, that would be one of the mistakes. I don't know if she has this here, but we'll find out. 15 mistakes London tourists always make. Love in London. Please click like, share, and subscribe for them, and like, share, and subscribe for me. Even if you're from a Tottenham fan, it's not personal. Thanks. Let's see what this says about it.
Welcome to London. I'm going to tell you about the biggest mistakes I always see tourists make when they come to the city so that you know about them and you don't make them yourself. By the way, I'm Jess. I run Love in London and we help tourists who visit London like they live here.
Thank you, Jess. Nice to meet you.
And if it's your first time coming to the city, I have a special freebie for you, so make sure you watch to the end of the video to get it.
Is that the Thames?
By far the biggest mistake I hear.
Oh, I know London is not a small city. That's something I don't need to be told. I'm well aware of how big London is.
From London tourists is that they didn't realize how big that London is. London is actually the biggest city in Western Europe, and for comparison, we have 9 million people here, and the second biggest city is Berlin with just 3.4 million.
Now, Berlin was pretty sizable itself, and I've been to Berlin. No, I never thought London was a small city by any stretch of the imagination.
And even Paris only has 2, so you can fit a bunch of Parises into London. That just goes to show how massive that this city is. So when you're here, be prepared to hop on public transport, whether it's the riverboat, the tube, the bus, anything, so you can make sure you're exploring as much of London as possible. Which leads us to the next mistake. Not going beyond the very touristy areas. I see a lot of tourists coming for a few days and not going beyond a few walks where the major tourist attractions are. And listen, do the tourist attractions, that's fine. But if you only do that, you are missing out on a whole entire London that us Londoners love and that I definitely think you should experience. So if you want to get out of central London, I've got a bunch of amazing video guides that will tell you some great things to do. A little bit more
Of course, in North London, the only thing you'll see there is the Emirates Stadium, so where Arsenal play.
On the outskirts of the city, and I will link those videos in the description box of this video. Not grouping your activities together by area.
Now, that's something that can be said about anything, any place. Like, there are people who come to the United States. I remember hearing a guy who wanted to go to New York City, wanted to go to Miami, wanted to go to Chicago, wanted to see Dallas, wanted to see Los Angeles. You don't do it that way. The United States is big in and of itself. If you come to the United States, stay in one area, New York, that area. If you want to go to Florida, that area, and so forth. But that's the same thing. If you're coming to London, and I said, I don't know London, you don't want to go to someplace south and then have to go all the way, truck all the way to the West London to North London. It doesn't make sense to do it that way. It's similar to the United States. Pick a spot or pick some place that you're going to go to in the activities and stay in that area so you're not going all over creation.
I see a lot of tourists that don't realize, as mentioned before, how big London is. So they don't plan in advance to do the same things in the same area in one day, which means you could spend tons of time traipsing around the city on public transport and getting taxis. For example, you don't want to do Notting Hill in West London on the same day that you're going to do Shoreditch, which is over here in East London. It's going to take a ton of time to get there on the tube. So instead, if you do Notting Hill, also pair that with a visit around Kensington. And when you go to Shoreditch, pair that with a visit to the Barbican. If you're struggling with figuring out what things to do in each area of London.
And that's something that I've learned. I've done a lot of traveling in the United States, and I think it's the same international as well, is always plan what you're going to do ahead of time, okay? Even if it's just a guideline, not a rule, plan ahead of time what you're going to do. So you're not, get there and say, what do we want to do? make sure you know, and that's where YouTube comes in. YouTube, like she has a bunch of videos about London. There's a bunch of people who have a bunch of different things about London. There are things that tell you about Germany, about Paris. There are so many places you can go to on YouTube which will tell you things you didn't know. So when I go to Paris, hopefully sometime next year, I'll know. We already know what we're going to do on specific days. Okay, and it's really the way to do it.
And I have travel guides that do exactly that for you. It's called the Casual Tourist Guides. I'll leave a link to them in the description box. Thinking you can only go and party on the weekends. There is something going on at night every single day of the week here in London, especially when you're in bustling areas like Shoreditch or Soho, where we are now. So don't think you can't go out if it's a weekday. In fact, the weekdays are super fun to go out because it's a little less crowded. It tends to be more people that actually live in London versus people who come from the outskirts in. Get me out of here. This is my worst nightmare. Not pre-booking
Please don't sing.
Your activities and your restaurants ahead of time, especially if you're coming.
Again, that's also another thing is you should make sure. In fact, in the United States, before we ever go out to a restaurant, we generally try to see if there's you can make a reservation. I think that's one of the most important things, especially if you're traveling internationally. If you can pre-book a restaurant or something like that, that's probably one of the big mistakes you make is thinking you just walk in and get a table. Especially not only just the restaurants but the activities as well.
Going to London in peak times like the summer, like it is right now, or around Christmas time, you for sure need to pre-book your activities and your restaurant reservations in advance. You don't want to be wasting precious time waiting in lines for places that you could have actually booked a time slot ahead of time, and then you wouldn't have to do all this waiting. For example, the London Eye, you can do that. The same goes for restaurant reservations. If it's important for you to eat well, which it should be, then you want to make sure you get your reservations in early so you don't miss out on the best dining experiences, especially around central London and on the weekends. Only trying British food when you come to London. Listen, try the full English breakfast, have some fish and chips, get a pie and mash, but you are truly missing out if you stick to only British food.
Well, I've heard something about British food, but I'm not going to get into a big, deep discussion on that. But I think she's right. Look, the same thing when you go to Paris, when you go to Germany, don't just try German. Try all in the United States. I mean, you have to try all different kinds of food. Try whatever you're hungry for.
Because London is one of the best cities in the world for international cuisines, and we have amazing restaurants that serve dishes from Italy, Japan, Sri Lanka, the Caribbean, and loads of other places that are all worth trying. So don't stick to only British food. You will definitely be missing out, and I think there are a lot of other cuisines that are actually much better than British food anyway. If you need lots of good...
She said it, not me.
...local food recommendations, make sure you go to the Love in London shop. I have so many amazing places to eat in my London guides.
I am so sorry.
Hi, that's okay. Oh, amazing. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Like, inspired our whole vacation.
Oh my gosh, amazing.
Yeah, you ran into some people who followed you on YouTube. Nice.
One of the biggest safety mistakes tourists make here in London.
Okay, yeah, especially from the United States. This is something I have heard, is not looking both ways from crossing the road. You're used to people driving on the right-hand side of the road, but in London they drive on the left-hand side of the road, and so that's something that people do definitely make a mistake on, because if you're going in London where they drive on the left-hand side of the road, if you look to your left where you're expecting the car to be coming from and you don't see anything, you're thinking everything's okay. You need to look to the right. You need to look both ways. I think that's very important. I think it's a good tip. Because especially when you're used to driving on a different side of the road.
It's not looking both ways when you cross the road. They drive on the left side of the road here, so if you're not used to that, you want to make sure you look both ways before you cross, or look down at the pavement because it might be telling you which way you should look before you cross. But just to be safe, look both ways, and then you won't get run over. Buying a paper ticket for traveling on the tube. The daily travel card is such a ripoff. Do not buy it. Instead, use...
I've actually heard that. Don't use your payment card. Just buy a paper ticket when you're using the tube. I have heard that.
A contactless payment method like Google Pay, Apple Pay, or just a contactless debit or credit card to pay. Or if you've got an Oyster already, an Oyster card works too.
Yeah, the Oyster card. That's what I heard. Get the Oyster card.
Those methods of payment have a daily cap, which is automatically applied, which is a lot cheaper than if you were to buy a paper daily travel card. So there's really no reason to buy it.
Yeah, the card. I've heard buy a paper ticket or get the Oyster card.
Not observing tube.
Now that's also the same thing as in the United States, which he's talking about there. If you're on the escalator or you're on the one of those places where you always stay to the right if you're just going to stand still. If you're walking, you go up to the left. That's the same in the United States.
Etiquette. If you want to see a Londoner get very frustrated, but also try to have patience at the same time, stand on the left side of the escalator in a tube station and you'll very quickly hear a "excuse me" from behind. That's because the left lane is the express lane. You keep moving, and if you want to stand on the escalator, make sure you're standing on the right side. And when you're waiting for a tube, when one arrives, make sure you're not stood in front of the doors. Step to the side, let everybody step off the train first, and then you can get on.
And that's really the same in the United States. That's not too different.
Thinking all of London is going to be quintessentially English.
No, I don't think that at all. It's like it's one of the things I've told people in my videos is if you want to see the United States, like places like New York City or Los Angeles are international hubs. Places like Chicago as well. Places like, Lexington, Kentucky, Nashville, Tennessee, even Atlanta, Georgia, places like that, Dallas, Texas, those are essentially American or United States American. But like San Francisco, along the coast in New York City, those are international hubs. And I think London is the same thing because everybody's heard of London. Okay. I knew about London before I first heard of England. Okay. I knew there's a London Bridge is falling. Sorry, I shouldn't sing either. But yeah, that is true. So yeah, I don't think London, I think London is quintessentially British. It's probably a very international area.
A lot of tourists come here and think they're going to see Londoners running around with top hats on, saying cheerio to everyone, and sweeping chimneys like
I never thought that.
Bert from Mary Poppins. But actually, London is a lot different from the rest of the UK. It's an incredibly multicultural city with people from all over the world, and we have global influences on the food, the architecture, the people, everything. It's one of the best parts of the city, so make sure you embrace it and enjoy it. Thinking you can predict the London weather.
Yeah, that's again. One of the mistakes that people make from the United States is, we think of London, as this is London or Europe or Europe. We think of the United States as here. The United States is essentially here. London is farther to the north. It's more in line with northern Canada, and predicting the weather in London, it's not too dissimilar from, say, Seattle, where there's a lot of rain. Not all the time, but as I understand it, there's a lot of rain in London.
Now, listen, here in England, we have all 4 seasons, but it can vary significantly from day to day. For example, you might have a day like today where it's hot and sunny and you don't need a jacket. And then literally tomorrow, it could be so cold that you feel like you need a proper winter jacket on. It does vary that much. So check the forecast a couple of days before you come to London, pack according to that, but also pack in case there are any major changes. And if you need any help with your packing and planning what to wear, I have that all in the London Packing Guide, which I will link in the description box.
Or you can just sit inside your hotel room and watch Sky Sports.
Leaving the city for a day trip too early in your trip. There is so much to do and see in London that you could be here for weeks exploring and still have not even scratched the surface. So I see a lot of tourists leaving to go on a day trip outside of the city like 2 days into their trip before they've even really properly seen anything.
Well, that also depends on the circumstances. Like, so let's just say, for argument's sake, I have a buddy who lives north of London, who maybe lives in Manchester, or maybe somebody who lives in Southampton. I want to go and visit them. Okay, that's, maybe it's not, I get that I'm missing out on the full London experience, but it depends on what you're there for. But if I'm there for London and London only, if London's the only reason that I want to be, walking around, then this point is well taken.
My rule of thumb is to not do any day trips unless you're in London for at least 7 days. And if you find yourself getting bored of London after a couple of days, you're just not doing it right. Sorry.
Yeah, I doubt you'd be bored. It's like saying you'd be bored in New York City or bored in Los Angeles. I've been to Los Angeles several times, more than I've been to New York City, and there's no way in the world I've even scratched the surface of Los Angeles. I mean, I've done the keep in mind I'm talking about South LA. I'm talking about the you know I've done the oh god, here I am trying to think of things that I've done. I've seen the Hollywood, been to the Hollywood Hills, seen the signs. I've done the uh, what do you call it? Venice Beach. I've done the Pacific Coast Highway. Uh, I've done the Miracle Mile. I've done Angel Flight. I've done a whole different bunch of things, but I haven't really scratched the surface of Los Angeles. Not like what my cousin and his friends out there have done. So yeah, I would have to agree with that.
Thinking there is a best time to visit London.
I don't know if there is a best look. If I was to visit London, based on this shirt, it's probably to see my beloved Arsenal play, if it's at all possible. That would be the first thing. But and the best time for that would be, uh, you know, August through mid-May, because when football season is in full swing. But I doubt there is a best time to visit London. If you want to visit London, any time is probably good.
London. You might have a favorite season to come to London. Mine is summer, but every time of the year has its pros and cons. For example, summer is going to be the best chance for getting good weather, but it also means there's going to be the most crowds and the highest prices. But you can come in January, where it'll be the lowest prices and the least crowds, but you're also going to be dealing with dark and cold weather. So
Yeah, but I wouldn't care too much about that. I live in Columbus, Ohio, where I get that in January anyway, so that wouldn't bother me too much.
it completely depends. In this
But that's different strokes for different folks.
video, I talk about the pros and cons of coming each month of the year. So have a watch of that after this video to figure out what's going to be the best time of year for you. Another big mistake London tourists make
Is not knowing how to pronounce Leicester. You're saying Leicester? That's what my mother's been to England. She couldn't pronounce that. They had to tell her it was Leicester. Why isn't it Lester? But why is it Leicester?
when they come to the city is to spend any time in Leicester Square. Like, literally, don't spend any time here. London tourists apparently think that this is a great place to come, and they're wrong. Unless you want to experience international cuisine at Pizza Hut.
Why the hell would you go to? Well, why would I go to London for a Pizza Hut when I can get it here in Columbus? So, according to her, Leicester Square is not worth my time.
Or experience world-class arts and culture. Or to get overpriced American candy at a candy shop that's currently being investigated for money laundering. Or go to one of the 3 movie theaters/casinos in this immediate area.
There's a Burger King too. You didn't say that.
If you want to do those things, you can come to Leicester Square.
But okay, she tells us don't go to Leicester Square. Okay, I'll write that down. I'll cross that off. If it was ever on my list, it's now on.
Otherwise, completely avoid it. M&M's! What is the point? Thinking you can
Well, there's only very few M&M stores in the world. There's one in Las Vegas that I've been to.
pay in any currency.
No, I never think you can. Why would you? I don't know why people would think that. Okay, they use pounds. Okay.
Besides British pounds. It's a little bit of a weird one. I don't know why you'd go to a foreign country and try to pay in your own currency.
If you go to Ecuador, you can pay in American dollars. Okay, they do. There's some places that do take American dollars in a foreign land. Okay.
But I've heard it be done. We use Great British pounds here, and even though we are in Europe, we are not on the euro, so you can't use.
My condolences to the loss of the Queen. I saw her in person in Bermuda. She visited. We got out of school and got to wave little British flags, even though we weren't British when she came by.
euros here, can't use American dollars, only use British pounds. If you find some place that says they will take your home currency, run. It is going to be a huge ripoff. Something is going on there that is really weird. And sometimes if you're paying by card, the machine will ask you if you want to pay in your home currency or Great British pounds. Always pick pounds, because when it converts to your home currency, it's actually going to severely rip you off.
Yeah, that's the one thing which I would tell. I used to work for the bank, is that you never, ever, ever pay in your home. One of the first things you do before you even leave is you make sure that you alert the bank that you're going to be in another country, and then that you're going to have your card in another country, and you only use that in an emergency, because you're also not just paying whatever the price they are, you're also paying the exchange rate as well.
Now, if you want to avoid even more mistakes when you come to London, make sure you grab my free London 101 guide. It has everything you need to know before you get here. You can get that by clicking the link in the description box of the video. And also make sure you watch one of my many, many other videos about London before you come, which you can do by clicking one of the boxes around me. These daily paper tickets that you can buy are such a ripoff. Oh, that was very...
Okay, we're doing bloopers now. Okay, hey, great. 15 biggest mistakes London tourists always make. This is Love in London. Please click like, share, and subscribe for her. And please click like, share, and subscribe for me. This is good information to know. Not something that's otherworldly that I didn't already know, but still fascinating thing to think about when you go to London. Hey, thanks for watching. Please click like, share, and subscribe for Love in London. Please click like, share, and subscribe for me. Have a good rest of your day. Thanks for watching.